Good day, everyone. I am Judy May Babor, and together with me is Jerry Peter Abila. And today, we will be discussing about constructing items for performance-based assessment in values education. Let's discuss performance-based assessment. Performance-based assessment is a direct systematic observation of the actual performance on a predetermined performance criteria. Alternative form of assessing the performance of the student. So basically, performance assessment is a direct measure of learning or competence. In our lesson, we will also provide examples of performance based assessment. Types of performance based assessment, which are extended response performance tasks and restricted response performance tasks. We will also discuss steps in developing performance based assessment, title of performance criteria, types of rubric, which are analytic and holistic, and lastly, development of scoring rubric. One of the types of the performance based assessment is the restricted response performance task. So, which means a restricted response performance task is highly structured but with a limited scope. So, the examples are writing a 1 page report, 1 minute speech, read aloud a brief poem, construct a paragraph from a data set. So, another example, as you can see on the other side, create a brief explainer video, a 1 minute only video on how you intend to apply material development concepts in the teaching of the GMRC or values education subject. In our slide, as you can see, this is the example rubric for evaluating the 1 minute video for the restricted response performance task. Moving on, the second type of performance based assessment is the extended response performance task, which means extended response performance task is less structured and broader in scope. So, the few examples are design and conduct experiment, design a wood product, write a short story, and paint a picture. And you can also see an actual example of an extended response performance task on the other side. In our next slide, you will see the sample rubric for the extended response performance task. Let's move on to steps in developing performance based assessment. So, 1. Define the purpose of assessment. 2. Determine the skills, learning outcomes, and taxonomy level. 3. Design and develop activity of performance tasks. 4. Define the performance criteria. And in performance criteria, we have different types of it. 1. Impact of the performance. 2. Work quality and craftsmanship. 3. Adequacy of method and behavior. 4. Validity of content. And 5. Sophistication of knowledge employed. And lastly, we have create the scoring rubrics. And in rubrics, we have two types of it, which are analytic and holistic rubrics. So, for the following next slide, we will discuss about the types of rubrics. Now, let's look at the sample template for holistic rubrics. So, when we say holistic rubric is to score an overall product or process. Another sample template for analytic rubrics. So when we say analytic rubrics, it provides information regarding performance in each component parts of a task.
So thank you, Teacher Judy, for explaining the part one. Now I'm Teacher Jeric, for I will explain the part two, which is the checklist for writing the performance task. So in number one, we have the performance task should be integrate the most essential aspect of the content being assessed with the most essential skills. So meaning we have a example here, the poor item, that poor item not showing the big picture of the content or the main point of the assessment. So this is a poor item because our example is ipakita kung paano dapat ang tamang pakikipag-usap sa social media o sa pagpublikong lugar. So specific. So by the way, I forgot to mention our content standard, which is pag-unawa sa pakikipag-dialogo gamit ang social media o iba pang ugnayan sa kapwa. So our improve item is sa gawaing ito, ipakita ang tamang pakikipag-usap sa social media at sa pampublikong lugar, nagpapakita ng respeto, tamang asal, pag-unawa sa damdamin ng iba. Maaari itong sagutan sa sagutang papel o paggawa ng isang video. So, the example is give a more detailed assessment. And our number two rule is the task should be authentic. So, meaning, the task should be in a real life scenario or the task should be experienced by the student or have experience by student. So our per item is magbahagi ng wastong gawain na nagpapakita sa paraan ng pakikipagdialogo gamit ang social media o iba pang ugnayan sa pakikipagkapwa o sa kapwa. So our per item is not showing the authentic or real life scenario. So in our improve item, as you can see, we have two parts, which is scenario-based role play and real-life online interaction. So both assessments show the real-life scenario. So for example, bumuo ng isang authentic na sitwasyon kung saan makikilahok ka sa pakipag-usap gamit ang social media o sa isang pampublikong lugar. Halimbawa, pagkomento sa isang post sa Facebook o pakikipag-usap sa isang grupo sa isang seminar. So online in real life online interaction, we have magsagawa ka ng isang tunay na pakikipag-ugnayan sa social media sa pamamagitan ng komentaryo o pag-comment sa post, pagtugon o pag-post. That's example of that. So we have now rule number 3, which is the structure the task to assess the multiple learning targets. So we have a poor item here that focus in writing skills, which is sumulat ng isang talata tungkol sa pakikipagkapwa sa social media. So in our improve item, we have now set A and set B. In set A, paghanda ng komunikasyon, pagganap ng roleplay or roleplay. In set B, we have now online interaction and reflection. So we have now multiple learning targets here in our assessment. So now in number 4, or rule number 4 is structure the task so that you can help students succeed. In our 4 item, ikaw ba ay gumagamit ng social media upang makipag-usap? So we don't have an indicator for helping the student. So in our improve item, as you can see in set A and set B, set A, pagsusuri sa alintutunin ng tamang komunikasyon. We have now ang pagsusuri. Next one is gabay na pagbuo sa alintuntunin. So we have now a gabay and practice role play. So we are now have a practice role play before we proceed the role play. In our set B, we have guided online interaction and pagsusulat ng reflection. Number 5, think through what student will do to be sure that the task is visible. In our poor item, paghanda ng isang presentasyon, nag-aangkop sa mabuting pakikipag-ugnayan sa social media. Gawin ito sa loob ng 5 minuto. As you can see, the given time is not enough to the task to be done. So in our improve item, we have now dedicated enough time in every specific set or in every specific activity. Now we are now in rule number 6. The task should allow for multiple solution. In our poor item, which is our panuto is not show the multiple solution result or option. So we are now in rule 6, which is the task should be allowed a multiple solution. In our improve item, as you can see, we are now in every task we give a multiple solution. Like in role play, we have now scenario 1 and scenario 2. And sa paglikha ng alintuntunin, we have now ay aspect tulad ng pagsagot ng mga opinions na may respeto, pagtugon sa mga negatibong komento ng maayos, pagsiguradong impormasyon na ibabagi ay tama. In rule number 7, which is the task should be clear, we have a poor item which is gumawa ng isang proyekto tungkol sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa social media. This panuto or instruction is not clear. In our improve item, in the task should be clear, we have now layunin ng gawain, pamaraan ng gawain, and specific step for paglikha or alintuntunin or and any set A and set B. And we are now have a pagsumite, which is sumitin ng mga sumusunod roleplay video, screenshot ng inyong online interaction, reflection, at we have guidelines, siguraduhin malinaw at kumpleto ang bawat bahagi ng inyong output at isumite. We are now in the rule number 8, which is the task should be challenging and stimulating to students. Our poor item, paano ka nagpapakita ng iyong buhay bilang isang mabuting mag-aaral na may mabuting pakikipag-dialogo sa media. No poor item not showing the challenging tasks for the student. So in our improved item, in number 8, we have now a be clear, challenging, stimulating the student. So in pagsumite, we have added bullet 2, which is siguraduhin bawat bahagi ng gawain ay nagpapakita ng inyong pagkamalikhain at pagsisikap upang malutas ang mga hamon ng tamang komunikasyon. And we are now in number 9, which is include explicitly stated scoring criteria. Our per item, as you can see, this item is not showing a scoring criteria. Then in our improve item, we add the scoring criteria like pagbuo ng alintuntunin, 20 points, role play, 40 points, online interaction, 20 points, reflection, 20 points, kabuuang puntos, 100 points. And the last rule is number 10, include constraint for completing the task. So as you can see, our per item not showing the completing the task or constraint for our guidelines. And now in our improved item, we have now a constraint which is oras. Ang roleplay ay dapat tumagal ng 3 hanggang 5 minuto. 5 minuto. Format, we have now in specific font and size. And pag sumite, we have specific output na dapat isumite sa pamagitan ng Google Classroom bago ang itinakdang oras.